Hey everyone, it's low carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger bringing you the one and only keto without the crazy. Let's talk about trigger foods, or a concept I like to call caveman in the Bellagio. Uh-oh, she has notes for this one, everybody. 2 pages of notes. So hopefully this will keep me somewhat on track and I won't go, sidetracking down a million different rabbit holes. But forgive me if you see me looking down now and then. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't miss anything critical that I want you to know. I am constantly saying that we don't need another food list. We don't need another protocol. We don't need another set of rules. We don't need someone else telling us, do this, don't do that, or someone has the one magical trick, the one magic hack that we haven't heard yet that's going to make all the pieces fall into place and we're finally going to stick to low carb or keto or carnivore or whatever variation of carbohydrate restriction you are aiming to do. Most of us know what to do already. We know what to eat. The hard part is actually doing it. If you don't know what to eat, check out my book, End Your Carb Confusion. There's a link to it in the description. It literally, the whole thing is in the title. If you're still confused about what to eat on keto, the book is called End Your Carb Confusion. But no, most of us know what to do. The hard part is actually doing it. So that's why I like to bring you these mindset videos, but I hope that they are actionable and strategic and teach you things that you can actually implement to help yourself start getting the results you want. So many other influencers out there are like, the 6 most poisonous things at the supermarket and why this keto food is killing you. And like, okay, if you want more of that, if you want more of the fear mongering and more of the sensationalism, go right ahead. I prefer to actually give you help. And give myself help too. I mean, pretty much everything I ever tell you, I'm sharing with you because it has helped me. So let's talk about trigger foods on keto. I want to start with talking about higher carb foods, but then I do want to address those of us that still have problems binging or overeating on very low carb foods. Just because a food is not full of sugar and starch doesn't mean it's not going to be a problem for some of us. So, why do we feel so out of control around certain foods? Some of us, whatever, maybe it's sweet, maybe it's savory, it's starchy, whatever it is, it's high in carbs, right? And we just cannot have one. We have to have 5 or 10 or 50. We can't stop until the bag, the box, the package is empty. And we do it every time, or just about every time, in our, however old you are, 20, 40, 70, 80, however long you've been alive, you have not yet in all those years mastered the art of having one piece or having a small serving of something. And we beat ourselves up for this, right? What's wrong with me? Why can't I figure this out? I'm broken in some way. No. One of the best things that I can tell you, or one of the most important things I can tell you, is that there's nothing wrong with you. If you lose control around some of these foods, those foods are doing exactly what they were literally designed to do. These foods have been engineered to be addictive. They have been engineered to make it so that you can't eat just one. It's not you, your body, your tongue, your brain. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do when exposed to that food. These food manufacturers have entire departments, research and development, R&D, entire departments, people whose careers are dedicated to making foods that you cannot resist, to making foods that you can't control yourself around. So what's wrong with you? Absolutely nothing. We have no evolutionary exposure to these foods that they call it the bliss point. You hit just the right combination of sweet and salty and crunchy and smooth and ooey gooey, savory, crispy, fatty, whatever it is. And your brain is just lighting up like a pinball machine. Of course you can't have just one little piece. Of course you can't just have one small serving and close the package. These things, pardon my language, they're like an orgasm in your mouth. Of course you don't want to stop. What? So, is it dopamine? Is it serotonin? Whatever it may be, when I eat my personal trigger foods, I like to think that there's an enzyme or a hormone in my brain going off, and it is, excuse me, the abbreviation for this enzyme or hormone is HCTG. What does it mean? What is the HCTG hormone? Holy crap, that tastes good. Yeah. There's a reason I don't want to stop. There's a reason I darn near can't stop, right? And not just me, it's us. So there's nothing wrong with you. In fact, rather than beating ourselves up and wondering what's wrong with us, what's wrong with my brain, we should be looking at the people who can have one little piece or who can have one small serving and close the package. What's wrong with them? Why isn't their brain lighting up like a pinball machine? What's wrong with them that how is it possible that you are having one little chocolate or one little thing? My best friend of 40-something years, like we all have people in our lives, right, who are capable of this. These alien, they walk among us, these alien life forms who can have one cookie or two cookies and close the bag. My best friend of 40-something years can open a bag of potato chips, or the crisps for those of you in the UK, and take out a small serving, put it in a bowl, and close the bag, and just eat her little reasonable serving from the bowl, and that's it. What? What planet did she evolve on? Because it's not the same one I evolved on. And the thing is, I never asked her, does she then spend like the next 2 hours fighting off cravings, or is it like, no, I just needed one little serving? I mean, she's never had a binge problem. She's never been a compulsive overeater. So, but anyway, these people walk among us. We all have at least one person like this. And so really, rather than wondering what's wrong with us and why we can't figure it out, we should be like, what's wrong with them? Like, that's really weird. How are you doing that? Anyway, I had, I'll share with you another quick story. When I was in the Air Force, for those of you who don't know, I was in the Air Force and a pre-keto nutritionist profession life. And in fact, I used my GI Bill to get my master's in nutrition. So thank you, U.S. military. But I had a housemate for a while who was in my squadron, and she was about yay big, except not really, because my pinky is way fatter than she was. She was an itty bitty slip of a person, and she liked to bake. And she made a very, very fabulous, amazing banana bread. And she would bake this banana bread from time to time, and she would have one little piece, and then apparently she would forget it was there. It was on the counter, it was out in plain sight, but she would never have any more of it. The thing would grow mold, and she would end up throwing it out, like 90% of the banana bread, because I was not keto at the time. I was low carb. I was actually low carb. I wasn't like ultra strict keto, but I was like, it was easier for me to stay away from it because it wasn't mine, right? She baked it. It's her banana bread. She wouldn't have cared if I took a piece. But anyway, my point is, I didn't have any, but I had to fight it all the time. Every time I saw it, it was like, oh, there's the banana bread. But even more so, it was like, how is she not eating it? How is she made this whole banana bread. She took one stupid little piece, and does she not see it? Did she forget about it? Like, is she not interested in it? I could not, and still today cannot comprehend how that happens. But again, they walk among us. We are not the weird ones. We are not the crazy ones. They are. And I just think, I'm not saying they're weird or crazy, although I just did. What I really want to do is normalize for you your reaction. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you when you lose control around these foods. These foods are literally designed for you to lose control around them. So your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do when exposed to that food stuff. Okay. Now, this brings me to the caveman in the Bellagio. For those of you that don't know what the Bellagio is, if you've never been there or you live outside of the US, you've never heard of it, it's a casino in Las Vegas. It's a very, very fancy, ritzy casino. It's the one that has the big waterfall, the fountains, the water fountains out front. And they do the show with the lights and the music with the water fountains. It's amazing. Now, let's imagine what might happen if we plucked a caveman out of the Paleolithic era, the whatever era, and put him in the Bellagio. I mean, this poor caveman is going to, and let's say we say, oh, no, Mr. Caveman, let's bring him to the buffet at the Bellagio. And we're going to say, no, you can't have any of this amazing, like, splendor of food. Like, you could not have even conjured this in your wildest caveman imagination. You can't have any of that. You just have to have a reasonable portion of the steamed fish over there. Are you kidding me? This poor caveman has to fight every biological hardwired urge he has to faceplant into everything, into the cheesecake, the fried rice, the I don't know what, shrimp scampi, whatever is around, like the most amazing food. And you're gonna expose him to all of this crazy, amazing, delicious stuff. And to, oh, no, but you can't have that. You just have to have this little, this little reasonable thing. Are you kidding? Or let's bring him to the gaming floor. Let's bring him to the casino floor with all the lights and the bells and the whistles and the sounds, and it's like crazy sensory overload. He's gonna explode. His brain is just like the head exploding emoji. Of course. And that's kind of how it is for some of us when we are around our high carb trigger foods. With, oh, there's a thing. And maybe the caveman in the Bellagio is a bit of an exaggeration, but I just want to say it's the same sort of like, oh, that's so delicious. I know how, oh my God, the texture is so good and the flavor and the smell. Like when they bring the warm bread basket to the table, or they, whatever, you're at a sporting event, you can smell the whatever's being served. We have to fight our evolutionary biology. We have to fight our ingrained, hardwired, like evolutionarily conditioned biological urges when it comes to some of these foods. Now, for those of you out there who have no trouble sticking to keto, any kind of food of any sort can be brought to the table, and if it's not on your plan, you're like, nope, not doing it, that's not for me. Great. More power to you. Like, you can just stop watching now. I hope you don't. I hope you keep watching. But I'm speaking because, again, they walk among us. We all have people in our lives maybe who do keto who do not have a problem. Like they learned how to do keto and they just did it and never looked back. Like nary a carb, nary a molecule of sugar, nary a molecule of starch has crossed their lips in however many years. Great. Good for them. Whoop-de-doo. What about the rest of us who need help? So for those of us who do still struggle with cravings, with urges for these foods that we know don't serve us, we have to fight our, again, those like everything in us, every biochemical thing in us is wanting us to eat that thing. So if it's hard, if it feels difficult, and if it's so hard and so difficult that you haven't been able to do it yet, you still kind of keep one day on plan, one day off, one day on plan, one day, you haven't really been able to resist these urges and cravings for long enough to really get some momentum, then we have something here to work on. But I want to, before we get to like how to actually do this, how to actually resist these urges, I want to say a few words for those of us who have trigger foods that are low in carbs. Just because something is very low in carbs doesn't mean that we're automatically not going to have a problem with it. If you've been watching my channel a while, you've heard me talk about the pork rinds. I can't buy pork rinds because I will binge on them. And I'm not going to bother buying the little bag because it's not big enough, right? I'm going to buy the big industrial family-sized bag, and I'm going to polish the whole thing off. If I'm lucky, it'll take me 2 days to polish it off. If I'm really lucky, it'll take 3 or 4 days. Mostly, it'll probably just be polished off all in one day. So pork rinds are very low carb. Whoop-de-doo. I can still binge on them. They are still a trigger food for me. Same thing with mayonnaise. I know some of you have heard about my mayonnaise problem. What the heck kind of a weirdo binges on mayonnaise? You're looking right at her. I will eat mayonnaise like it is a tub of friggin' yogurt. Give me a spoon and a jar of mayo and I am going to town. No, not really that bad. I will take a little dip of mayo, a little dip more. Before you know it, a week later, the big jar of mayo is empty. That is neither here nor there. The most common trigger foods on a keto or low carb diet are nuts, right? Nuts and seeds and nut butters, especially almond butter, peanut butter, cashew butter. I'm looking at you. So again, just because something might be considered totally suitable for a low carb or keto diet doesn't mean that it's automatically going to be safe. It might still be a trigger food or a binge food. You might still lose control around it. And I have a pro tip for you. Anyone out there who, if you tend to binge or overeat or sort of lose control around things like cookies, cakes, brownies, muffins, pies, granola, cereal, ice cream, that stuff, you are not doing yourself any favors by switching to the keto versions of the cookies, the cake, the brownies, the pie, the muffins, the ice cream, the cereal, the granola. It might be an okay transition step. And if you're getting the results you want, then it's working for you. But I just know that those foods, those keto versions of these foods, tend to be massive roadblocks. First of all, they're a lot higher in carbohydrate than you think they are. The net carbs can be very misleading. These things can be roadblocking your fat loss. They can be raising your blood sugar and insulin a lot more than you think they are. And if that's the case, you might as well just buy the real thing. Why not just enjoy the real thing that probably tastes better, has a better texture, and is way cheaper? Right? I mean, the keto versions of that stuff is 8 times the price of the regular stuff. No, I am not trying to encourage you to eat the regular stuff. I am really just pointing out that if you feel like you have these trigger foods and binge foods on keto, yeah, I would binge on keto cereal too. I would binge on keto ice cream. I would binge on keto granola because I lose control with the regular version. So I know enough not to buy those. Right? So just, you're not doing yourself any favors. If you think you're doing keto and you wonder why you still lose control, well, it's because those keto cookies and the keto ice cream is lighting everything up just the same as the real thing. Okay. What are we going to do about it? Because this is where the rubber hits the road, right? I really did want to spend some time reassuring you and sort of calming you that there is nothing wrong with you. Of course you lose control around these foods. Yeah, we are sort of, I don't want to use the word design. That's such a loaded word. We have been evolutionarily and biologically and biochemically conditioned to lose control around these kinds of foods. So now that we know that, what are we going to do about it? If we actually want to get the results we want, if we want to lose weight, if we want to say goodbye to type 2 diabetes, if we want to say goodbye to PCOS, say goodbye to acne, skin tags, migraines, whatever, well, I have good news for you. It's really, really simple to do this. The best way to stop eating these trigger foods, your trigger foods, is to not start. Done. Wait, what? Amy, that's your earth-shattering solution? That's your advice? That's your professional, like degree in nutrition? Thanks so much for that incredible news flash. I can't believe I've never thought of that. Just don't eat it? Wow. Good thing I tuned into this video. I've just never thought of that. Okay. No. The real thing is, how do I not start, right? If the answer to stopping is simply not starting, how do we not start? How can we stop ourselves from taking that very first bite, right? Because a lot of us are abstainers. It's easier for us to abstain completely from our trigger foods than it is to say, I'll just have one. I'll just have one piece, one bite, because it never, ever, ever stops at one. So we have to find ways to not take that first bite, because the first bite will inevitably lead to 5, 10, 20, 50 until the box, bag, or package is empty, right? So we're over 21 minutes. I'll tell you what, I do have concrete strategies to share with you, actual actionable advice, tips to help you in that moment when you're wanting to reach for it, when your caveman brain is wanting the chips or the rolls or the bread and the pretzels and the cake and the whatever. Actual things that you can do to not fall down that cascade. I will share them with you in the next video. So be sure to subscribe if you're not already and keep an eye out. And until that next video, promise me that you will keep the crazy out of your keto. And I'll see you next time. Stay tuned.